We're focusing on your wedge shots, and you've told us that your main issue is the trajectory. And more specifically, you tend to hit the ball too low, and you'd like to get the ball flight a little higher. Now, the height of the shots is mainly determined by the launch angle of the golf ball, and this is controlled by the loft of the club at impact. Now, every club has what we call static loft, which is the loft that it's been designed with. But we also have something called dynamic loft, and that's the loft that we present at impact. So very simply, the more we move the handle towards the target, the lower the loft of the club and the lower the launch angle. And the more we move the handle back away from the target, the higher the loft and the higher the launch angle. Now there's a limit to how far back we can go. If the hands move behind the club head, we've actually moved the bottom of the swing too far back, and we're either going to have heavy strikes or the club will miss the ground and come up too soon and top the ball. So with wedge shots, although we want the hands slightly forward of the ball to make good clean contact, we don't want this to be excessive. And currently, you will have your hands too far forward. Now if we look at setup, one simple solution could be that you're playing the ball too far back in your stance. The further back the ball is, the easier it is to get the hands forward, de-loft the club and lower the ball flight. So with standard wedge shots, we'd like to have the ball either in the centre of the stance or very slightly back of centre, but not too far. Once we have a good ball position, we also want to look at the position of our body. So if we were to lean our upper body too far towards the target, this would have the same effect as having the ball positioned too far back in the stance. It leans the shaft too far forward and de-lofts the club. So let's try and make sure we have a reasonably neutral balance. Slightly favouring the front foot would be fine, but not too much. Now once we have a good setup, it's all down to the dynamics of the swing. And we're going to mainly look at the release. So during the backswing, we're going to hinge our wrists. And if we delay the unhinging of the wrists for too long, we will end up with the hands too far forward and too little loft on the club face. This is of course what you're doing. So if we can get you to feel a slightly more active release, slightly earlier in the downswing, you will be able to arrive at impact with the hands slightly closer to the ball, which means less shaft lean, more loft and a higher ball flight. So if we have a few practice swings, make sure the setup is quite neutral, and then with your swing, feel that you're slightly more actively throwing the club head with your hands from the very top of the swing. The one thing that we have to maintain is the fact that the club hits the ground after the ball, and this means we'll still strike the ball well. If by releasing the club early, you start to hit the ground behind the ball, then we've overdone it and we need to ease back off of this. So, neutral setup, normal backswing, and then a slightly more active release on the way down, making sure you can still brush the grass ahead of the ball. Once you can do this, it's time to hit a shot. The golf ball will tell you whether you've made enough of a change to get a higher ball flight, or whether you still have the ball flying too low and you need to exaggerate it a little more. So again, neutral setup, an active release, adding loft, making sure the club still hits the ground after the ball, and then hit a shot, and we should see a nice high ball flight.